Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Excuse my soda. Awesome. Welcome, everyone. We're so excited. We had 80 registrants for this webinar. It's the most highly attended webinar since I've been the chairperson for the Professional Development Committee. It's pretty exciting. Awesome. Very cool. Welcome, new attendees. I see I've got some more people logging on here. We're going to wait a couple more minutes to get as many people in the queue as possible, and then we will go ahead and start. Please disregard the children screaming in the background. It's dismissal out front, and I'm the very first office in the building. I don't know how they have enough energy. I'm drinking more soda.
Us too.
That the kids reminded me today at lunch is very unhealthy for you, Miss Grace. But then they want all my pop top tabs for fundraising. So I was like, I'll just drink more soda.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. We are a couple more minutes, ladies and gentlemen. Awesome. Okay, we are now at about 3:05, so we're going to get started. My name is Grace Kolchinsky. I'm the Professional Development Chairperson for the Florida School Counselor Association. And today we have a phenomenal webinar brought to you by Monique Burr. Many of you are familiar with Monique Burr, but for those of you who aren't, it is a nonprofit who is best known for their programs to prevent child abuse. And the programs that you are most familiar with are probably, for the majority of you, Child Safety Matters, which has been around for quite a while. And then recently they developed Teen Safety Matters. So at a school like ours, my school is a pre-K through 8, we are able to serve 100% of our students using the Monique Burr program. So don't think it stops just for the little kids. With us today, your presenters, we have Nan Wersowitz. I'm going to get that wrong, even though I've known you for 15 years. And she's the Florida Outreach Manager. And then we have Stacy Pendarvis, who is the Program Director. And also on the line today, we are lucky enough to have Lynn Layton, who is the President and CEO of the Monique Burr Foundation for Children. While we're doing our presentation today, you'll see that there are handouts linked to you. You can click on the links. There's the overview of the program, reporting bullying, training resources, and an overview of the Teen Safety Matters as well. So feel free to download any of those documents while we're presenting. Also, you'll notice in your drop-down list, there's a place for questions. We are going to do questions at the end of the presentation. There's a specific slide. When we get there, I will read any and all questions that you have to make sure that they're recorded for the webcam, or it's not for the webcam, for the webinar, so that they make it into the video when we send that back out to you and to those that were unable to attend today. So if you have questions along the way, please type them in the question bar, and I will read those aloud when we get to that portion of the program. And so now I'm going to turn over presentation duties to Nan, and it's her turn to talk.
All right, thanks, Grace. All right, well, good afternoon, everyone. We are really excited about this opportunity to partner with the Florida School Counselor Association on this webinar. October is Bullying Prevention Month, and many schools across the state are going to be doing activities over the next few weeks for bullying prevention. And we hope to help make October fun and engaging and meaningful for activities for your school. Whoops. Sorry, we're getting situated here.
Wait, I'm going the wrong way.
Yep.
There we go.
All right, so Grace told you a little bit about the Monique Burr Foundation for Children. We are a nonprofit located in Jacksonville, Florida, and our focus is exclusively on prevention education. Many of you are familiar with MBF Teen Safety Matters and MBF Child Safety Matters. These programs are provided at no cost to public schools for students in grade K through 8 through an appropriation for the Attorney General's office. Our programs are evidence-based. We're very excited to be the first elementary evidence-based prevention education program and follow research on best practices to help keep students safe from bullying, cyberbullying, and other types of victimization. And for any high school folks listening, we actually have high school lessons in development, and we hope to have them ready to pilot in the spring. So I want to give a special thanks to Dr. Michelle Borba, because as I was doing the research for this webinar, I used 2 of her books, Unselfie, and then her latest book, End Pure Cruelty and Build Empathy, as resources for the webinar. She cites a lot of really good examples of activities that schools are doing in their schools for bullying prevention, and I've tried to give her credit throughout the webinar whenever I borrowed original ideas from her books. These were both great resources. And then just a quick, MBF is sponsoring Dr. Borba as the keynote speaker at the FSCA conference in November, and we'd like to invite any MBF Child Safety Matters or MBF Teen Safety Matters facilitators who are going to be attending the conference to come to a meet and greet with Dr. Borba on Friday, November 2nd. Facilitators are welcome to bring a guest, but we do ask for folks to RSVP so we have enough goodies and snacks and beverages to go around. And if you are not currently a facilitator, there's time to complete our online facilitator training. And for our high school friends, you may want to take the training just to be familiar with our program, since we are coming out with a high school version this spring. My contact information will be at the end of the webinar, so please reach out to me if you're interested in facilitator training. So the objectives for today's webinar are to define what bullying is and what it is not, to increase the awareness of the data related to bullying and the implications of that data to schools, to increase the awareness of the research about effective bullying prevention strategies, and to try and share some creative and fun ideas to help make your Bullying Prevention Month activities more meaningful, and to also get you thinking about year-long, school-wide culture changes related to bullying. So, bullying is a learned behavior, but it can be unlearned. Bullying is repeated acts where there is a real or perceived imbalance of power between the bully and the victim. Bullying is purposeful. It's not something that happens by mistake. It is definitely very intentional. Bullying can be physical, verbal, digital, or take the form of social isolation, which is sometimes called relationship bullying. Most frequently, this is seen in grades 5 through 8, and most commonly in girls. So our middle school folks, you've probably seen a lot of this. Bullying is not bothering or teasing for fun or joking around or just normal social conflict. It's really a form of aggression. Some common indicators of bullying include cuts, bruises, or injuries that cannot be easily explained, frequent physical complaints, often associating with a child not wanting to go to school, sudden changes in sleeping or eating patterns, ripped or torn clothing when coming home from school, slipping grades, missing lunch money or other possessions, spending a lot of time alone, or seeming to lose interest in friendships that were previously existing, and becoming uncharacteristically sad, depressed, or even suicidal. Cyberbullying is just the digital media form of bullying. It's threatening or harassing behaviors that occur online via the internet, cell phones. This can include sending harassing messages, posting false information, posting private pictures, or gaining someone's trust to be able to get into their accounts and impersonate them when you post things online. You may also hear this referred to as digital abuse or electronic aggression. Some common signs of cyberbullying include spending large amounts of time online, especially at night or when alone, often accompanied by tense or pensive postures over the social media, over the computer or phone, hiding or clearing the computer or cell phone when an adult approaches, and not wanting to go to school. Bullying can be an early marker of other problem behaviors. Children who bully their peers are frequently at risk for engaging in truancy, in fighting, in theft, and in vandalism. Students who bully are in need of positive, pro-social models, including adults and other students at their school. Signs that a child may be bullying include a lack of empathy or sensitivity towards others, being impulsive or quick-tempered, not accepting responsibility for their actions or problems, being intolerant of those they see as different from them, and seeking to exclude those or shun them from activities, taunting, intimidating, or harassing more vulnerable students, and being obsessed with status. All Florida school districts are required to have bullying and cyberbullying prevention policies that define the behaviors, describe the consequences, detail the procedures for reporting and investigation, and set procedures for following up with both the bully and the victim. Often, this last step is the one that gets the least amount of follow-through. These mandated policies and procedures for bullying are tied to the Jeffrey Johnston Stand Up for All Students Act. It used to be, as we traveled the state, everyone knew about this act, but we're finding a lot of people don't know the background on Jeffrey Johnston anymore. But in 2008, the Florida legislature passed this law because of a middle school student named Jeffrey Johnston. He was bullied and cyberbullied at school, was not given any help and assistance, and ended up committing suicide. In the summer of 2013, the state actually added cyberbullying to this law. The Florida legislation has been recognized as a model for other states and is cited in several other states as they have done their legislation and rules on bullying. So what do you need to know about the data in bullying? So here's some very current statistics. 1 in 7 students is either a bully or has been victimized by a bully. 60% of students say they see bullying in school at least once every single day. 10% of our students who drop out of school do so because they have been repeatedly bullied. And victims often struggle in school, and the psychological impact can be very long-lasting. Vulnerable populations, such as students with disabilities or LGBTQ students, have higher rates of victimization. And many of our kids are also bullied because of religious or cultural differences. Many school shooting incidents link back to bullying and harassment and are motivated by revenge. Over 1/3 of our students report being threatened online. 70% of our students think that the adults do a pretty poor job of responding to bullying. And when upstanders intervene, the bullying stops within 10 seconds in at least half of the situations. And the last slide on data. So almost 2/3 of our students who are bullied do not report the bullying. Victims and bullies can become depressed and suicidal. 40% of boys who are identified in grades 6 through 9 become, as bullies in grades 6 through 9, become involved in the criminal justice system. And because students frequently don't report bullying or cyberbullying, it really is important for the adults in their lives to understand what bullying and cyberbullying are and to know what those warning signs are. There's also now some new Florida legislation that has potential financial impacts on our public schools in Florida related to bullying. So in the 2018-19 school year, Florida public school students may request a transfer to another public school or be eligible for a Hope Scholarship to a private school if they have been subjected to an incident. And the state legislation describes incident, and it includes harassment and bullying, threats, and intimidation. Additionally, schools with 10 or more students requesting a transfer from a school because of this law then force the school to be subjected to an independent review of their prevention education policies and practices. In talking to some folks from our local county today about how implementation, they're really trying to educate people on what bullying is and what it isn't, and really beefing up some helps and strategies and prevention activities. So first, let's talk briefly about what doesn't work. So bullying prevention is it's not a door decorating contest, it's not a poster campaign, it's not a standalone school assembly. It needs to be an ongoing process with a goal to change a school's culture, and the work needs to be throughout the school year, not just one day or just 1 month of the year. So, some schools have tried peer mediation and conflict resolution to address bullying, but there is no evidence to indicate these strategies are effective. In fact, quite the opposite. So number one, bullying is a form of victimization. It is not a conflict. Mediating an incident of bullying can send an inappropriate message to the students who are involved, such as you're both right and wrong, or we need to work out this conflict between you. The appropriate message to the students who are the target of bullying should always be that no one deserves to be bullied, and we're going to do something about it and stop it. The message for students who are engaging in bullying should always be your behavior is inappropriate and it must be stopped. Mediation is also very unfair for the students who've been targets of bullying, to have to make them sit down with the person who's been victimizing them in mediation. Zero tolerance policies. According to the Vera Institute of Justice, there's been no research to support a decrease in bullying in schools with the implementation of zero tolerance policies. The National Association of School Psychologists has reported that a disproportionate number of African American students and students with disabilities end up being suspended or expelled when there's a zero tolerance policy for bullying. A recent survey of K through 8 students indicates that approximately 1 in 5 students admits to having bullied their peers periodically. So think about your school populations, 1 in 5. If they admit to bullying periodically, think about all the bullying reports to track and punish. Changing a school culture can be a much more effective long-term procedure. And although suspension and expulsion of students may be necessary in a small number of cases to maintain safe learning environments, these practices are not recommended as broad-based bullying prevention and intervention strategies. So, what does work? There's no cookie-cutter approach, because when you think about bullying, the motivation behind bullying can be so diverse and there are so many variables involved. However, there are some key factors that have been proven to be effective. Using evidence-based principles and policies and practices, involving the whole school community. Too often when we do training at school, we focus just on teachers rather than involving everyone in the school. And working to make sure that all stakeholders are consistent with implementing the agreed upon policies and practice. And this isn't always easy to do. Sometimes we have to revisit the long-term goal of what we're doing, and sometimes we have to review that available short-term data to be able to see the small steps in progress that we are making. Just telling staff to respond to bullying immediately and consistently may not be effective. So we need to have some discussions, faculty meetings, team meetings, period meetings, grade level meetings. There's all kinds of options. But having the discussions about what kinds of bullying have they seen? Where did they see bullying happen most frequently at school? Just like the students who benefit from practicing how they would respond to situations before they occur, staff can also benefit from thinking through ways to respond when they see bullying. Punishment should not be the only tool in our toolkit. Restorative practices, shaping behaviors, reinforcing appropriate behaviors, and practicing pro-social behaviors are all a few alternatives. Involving the whole school community includes everyone who works at the school. I love a story that's been shared by the Gulf Coast Children's Advocacy Center about a child choosing the school custodian as their safe adult. Fortunately, that school had involved their whole school staff in their prevention efforts, so the custodian knew why the child was approaching him. All school staff need to be trained on what bullying is, what the school's bullying policies and procedures are, and how to consistently enforce those policies. School staff who are more involved when they understand the need and have a voice in developing a school plan. Staff can also help identify students who are victims. They can help identify the ones who are bullies, and they can also help identify the kids that are at risk. Some schools use an Adopt a Student program to provide mentoring and positive reinforcement for appropriate behaviors, or just to have someone be a safe adult that the student knows and cares about them. Bullying behaviors don't go away just because we say so. Changing the behaviors takes time, it takes practice, and it takes reinforcement. Research also shows that bullying is less likely to occur in classrooms where there's caring and respect, and those are the norms and the expectations within the classroom. So teaching social emotional skills, shaping behaviors, and looking for those teachable moments to create positive school cultures are key factors. So I'm going to refer to something in Dr. Borber's book about 4 components for building strong, safe student relationships, or strong, safe staff and student relationships. So some of her suggestions were to create a teacher advisor advisee program, assigning a small number of students to teachers. This isn't like assign them 15 to work with, but assign a small number of students for teachers to reach out to at least 1 time a week. The advisor can also reach out to the family once or twice a quarter to touch base, not because the child's in trouble, but just to say wonderful things about the child and help create those relationships. Another activity that she mentioned that I really liked was the Mix It Up lunch day, where students were asked to sit with someone new at lunch. So periodically, once a month, Mix It Up lunch day. And you can learn more about this activity at www.tolerance.org. So remember the statistic that talked about students not thinking adults do much to stop bullying? Sometimes we forget how painful a throwaway comment can be. Adults need to be mindful of modeling the behaviors that we want the kids to use. Adults who are educated about bullying are more likely to take it seriously and to respond to it appropriately. Wouldn't you like to go to a school where everyone knows your name and they're always glad you came? I worked in schools for probably 25 years before I worked to the district level, and I don't know anyone who loves hall duty, but staff being in the halls, making eye contact with students, greeting them, learning their names, modeling pro-social behavior, that leads to true climate change. So Stacy recently sent me this video, and I think it's a great example of creating a classroom culture that promotes and teaches pro-social behavior. So let's just watch the video for a minute. Groundhog Day. So schools could consider having student greeters or goodwill ambassadors. Another strategy is to start having some meaningful conversations. Schools need to involve parents in their prevention education efforts. I often hear folks talk about having a really tough time getting parents to come to school for anything. One strategy to involve parents is to have students write a personal invitation to their parents to invite them to a prevention education activity. After a class discussion about bullying, students could then include information about bullying in their personal invitation to their parent. Parents, school staff, and other adults in the community have well, I already read that part, but this will help build awareness, build a safe school environment, and create a community-wide bullying prevention strategy. So, more creative conversations. Remember the data that said nearly 70% of students think schools respond poorly to bullying? If you ask the students at your school how they feel about the report they receive at this, from staff at your school when it comes to bullying, what do you think they would say? A good place to start is just to ask them. Start a conversation. Students are key players in creating your school culture. How can we convey to them that we'll support them when they stand up to bullying? It's hard sometimes to be an upstander, so they need to know that we've got their back. Consider having students create a top 10 list of ideas to stop bullying at your school. You might be surprised by some of the ideas they come out with, and they could be some really great ideas. Social emotional learning skills. Those are the keystones and building blocks. Self-awareness, social awareness, relationship skills, self-management, and making those decisions. Those are so important to our kids to help them effectively deal with all the daily tasks and challenges in their lives. Schools can consider introducing themes throughout the year: respect, peacefulness, empathy, responsibility, and tie those classroom lessons to curriculum activities within the throughout the year. Again, involve your students in being part of the solution. Older students within a school can help teach and reinforce skills through cross-age groups. I've also seen cross-school groups where middle school students work with elementary students in a nearby school, or high school students work with elementary or middle school students in nearby schools. Older students could write scenarios for younger students depicting different social situations. Bullying, the different types of verbal bullying situation, physical bullying, social isolation. They could write scenarios about teasing, whether it's friendly teasing or unfriendly teasing, or conflicts such as arguments. The scripts could be read aloud, and students could practice how they would respond. Students can also create bullying prevention PSAs for your morning announcements, for your PTSA meetings. There's limitless opportunities when we tap our student resources. So we also need to create an environment where upstanders can thrive. So the difference between a bystander and an upstander is a bystander sees bullying, doesn't get involved, but doesn't do anything about it. And an upstander does something to intervene, whether it's to go and get a safe adult, whether it's to say to the bully, stop, that's not nice, we don't do that. So kids can learn to be upstanders when they see bullying happen, but they need to know that the school staff, again, is going to support them and has their back, because it's kind of scary sometimes to stand up against something. Talk to kids about tattling or snitching versus reporting. A lot of kids don't want to be the one that says something or tattles. So helping them understand that tattling and snitching, those are done just to get somebody in trouble, while reporting is done to protect someone or to get them help. Provide opportunities to role play so they understand what types of situations should be reported and how they could respond. For instance, someone cuts in front of you in line. How would you respond? Is that bullying? No, not so much. Someone threatens to hurt you if you don't give them your lunch money. How do you respond? Let them practice those opportunities, or let them practice how they would respond before those occasions happen. So the next thing would be to teach kids what to say. Sometimes they want to help, but they don't know what to do and they don't know what to say. So we can help them brainstorm. We can create signs. We can put things up for practice. Michelle Borba had the following suggestions in her book, Ending Peer Cruelty. So help kids come up with strategies to reduce the audience. So when you get the bully who is craving attention and he's doing it just to show off, then have the kids practice saying, let's move on. To encourage other students' support, they could practice saying, come on, let's help. To help the victim, just asking, are you okay? If they need help, to seek a safe adult, they could say, I will get a teacher, I will get the principal, I will get help. If you've got positive school norms within your school and you've talked to the kids about what we stand for, then being able to say, that is not what we are here, that's not what we do here at our school. Kids need to know how to report incidents to adults. Johnny was bullied at recess again today. And they need to be able to stand up to the person who is bullying and say things like, hey, that's mean, cut it out. They also need to be able to reduce the victim's emotional distress. Telling another child you didn't deserve that will make them feel much better at the moment. Students can also be taught strategies on how to respond to situations before they encounter them. So I took a strategy from Dr. Borba's book, her ABCs of Bullying Safety, and I also compared it with some of the strategies that we use in our Child Safety Matters and Team Safety Matters programs. So Dr. Borba teaches A, act safely. Look and listen. If it looks like someone could get hurt, then act to get help and don't wait. That correlates with our programs where you spot red flags, you make a move, and then you talk it up. You go to get help. B is band together. So there's safety in numbers, and if you think something's wrong, find an adult, find some other people to get help. So in our programs, we teach safe adults, making a move, and also talking it up. Her C in her ABCs of bullying safety is care for the person who needs help. So you see someone who's being bullied, you see someone who's been victimized, talk to them. Are you okay? What can I do to help? So correlating to our programs, that would be to talk it up, and then upstanders versus bystanders. So I just want to remind people that if you are on our email distribution list, you know that every October we send out some supplemental lesson plans for bullying prevention. They're not part of our program, but they're supplemental lessons that we suggest or get shared with classroom teachers. They're clustered for grades K through 2, grades 3 through 5, and grades 6 through 8. And those will be emailed out at the end of next week. We also do abuse prevention plans in April that will get sent out at the end of March for schools to be able to use. If you are not on our email list, and don't receive these emails from us, then they'll be on our website, Stacy, the first week of October?
Yep.
Okay.
Or they can go to the website and do just the contact us and put their information into
So info at, okay.
To join our mailing list.
So info at mbfpreventioneducation.org.
Yeah.
Okay. So this year, the lesson plans, you may have seen this on social media. I've seen it posted on the walls in some schools. So it's based on Be the Nice Kid by Brian Skavnak, S-K-A-V-N-A-K. So all the activities are going to be around this. And again, we tried to make them age appropriate and fun for the kids to be able to participate in some activities this month. So Grace, at this point, do we have any questions?
Yes, okay, we do have one question here, and I think it's a good question because it's something that a lot of the kids want to know too. Do you have any information on what bullying is not? For example, playing with someone else, forgetting to say happy birthday, normal examples of not getting along. I think just from my experience as a school counselor, and I know Nan, you were practicing school counselor for many years, I think one good way to make that list would be just like you said in your presentation, to have the kids help brainstorm, because they're going to know. They're going to know. I don't know if I've ever seen a comprehensive list, but the kids are a really good source of things that are just mean, things that are bullying, or things that are unkind. But
you know, Grace, what I would do is I would put a T-chart on the board or on a piece of chart paper and say, you know, bullying on one side and not bullying on the other. And then again, have the kids brainstorm where do they think it belongs, and then actually list it on the T-chart.
That's a good idea. For those of you listening to the webinar today and viewing the webinar today, this program, the Monique Burr Foundation's programs, provide pretty much all the materials you need to start attacking this at your school, to put in a foundation. Of course, you can always build on it, but if you're starting from scratch, one of the most important things, I think, since Monique Burr Child Safety Matters and Teen Safety Matters is specifically marketed to school counselors and schools and school districts, is that they have school counselors or former school counselors on their team. So they know what we need as resources to start this talk at our school to really get the school motivated. And they have school counselors giving that input. So if you're brand new and you don't know where to start, understand that someone has given input to this that'll make it specifically easy for a school counselor who has 600, 700, 800 kids on their caseload. I need a basic, just something to do. Child Safety Matters and Teen Safety Matters have that information for you. So don't be afraid to jump right in. And again, there's more information about how to get their programs and outlines in those 4 handouts at the bottom. If you joined us later, if you click on the handouts menu at the bottom of your GoToWebinar menu, you'll see the Child Safety Matters overview, identifying and reporting bullying, trainings and resources, and then the Teen Safety Matters resources overview. So again, if you just need a basic place to start and then build your program, that's exactly what this will provide for you.
And Grace, I would just remind everybody, I know we said it earlier on, but all of our programs and resources are provided at no cost to Florida Public Schools, so it's free. There are the lessons, 2 lessons for every grade level in elementary, 3 lessons in middle school. There are materials for parents, there's materials for school staff. If you're not using our programs, please use something. There are some other programs out there, but visit our website to see some of the resources that we have. Just additionally, there's online courses.
Yeah, we have several online courses. They're 1-hour professional development courses, and they're topic specific. So we have one on recognizing and reporting child abuse and neglect, one on preventing child sexual abuse, and one called Real World Safety, which if you want to kind of follow up with this webinar, that course is really good and dives in a little bit more to the continuum of bullying. So, just the normal social conflict that you see, and then pre-bullying behaviors and bullying behaviors and different ways to intervene at each one of those points. So that might be a good follow-up if you want even more information beyond today's webinar.
Awesome. If you joined us later and didn't get the instructions, if you have any other questions, you can type them in. I don't see any other ones showing up. I know, Nan, you did a fantastic job explaining, and I'm very excited about the convention this year and seeing our guest speaker, because bullying it's a major issue in our schools, and with the New Hope Scholarship that you talked about, we are under even more of an obligation, that more than we even were, which was huge already, to make sure that we are a part of the solution. And again, if you're a practicing school counselor and you need a place to start, maybe unfortunately, even though we know that we're advocating against it, that you're on the resource schedule, you can break up these lessons into whole units for your school. They're designed to be either 2 or 4 per grade level, but because some of the lessons are so rich with content, you can easily spread it out over the long school year. And then, like they said, you're creating a whole culture instead of just throwing a paintball over here and throwing a paintball over here and hoping that you reach some kids. You'll be creating a comprehensive program, which is what school counseling is all about. So I don't see any other questions. Nobody's typed something else. So I think that's amazing.
So let me give you our contact information. Oh, I don't know. Oops. Wait a minute. Sorry.
We're just reviewing.
Yeah, quick review. There we go.
Sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name. And they're always glad you came.
Please, my email address is down on that bottom line. Our website is in the middle. So my email address, I'm sorry, is on the bottom line. Our office number is at the top line, and our website, MBF Prevention Education, that is a wealth of resources, is in the middle.
For those of you who are not familiar with Cheers, you'll have to see if that's on Netflix.
Thank you so much for attending and participating today and joining us. Please contact us if you have any questions, suggestions, if you need help, if you want to talk about implementation. We're happy to brainstorm with ways that you could do it at your school.
Okay, some last notes from FSCA. This is Grace again one more time. As you leave the presentation today, you will have a survey at the end. And it's not just about today, it's about other things that we can bring to you. So please make sure to do your survey. Also, download the handouts. There are 4 handouts on the presentation today. And lastly, in about 2 days, you guys are going to get a replay of this video. And then if you have any friends who weren't able to attend, but they did sign up, they will get a replay in about a week. And then, yes, we will watch more Cheers. And please look for another webinar soon. I hope to see everybody at the convention this year. Again, we're going to have Monique Burr will be there. We'll see Nan, Stacy.
Well, how about Michelle Borba instead of Monique Burr?
Oh, well, you're not going to be there, Nan?
I will be there. I personally
You're always
will be
there. Don't tell me you're not going to be there. So we'll see everyone there. And again, your replay will be up for you in about 2 days. And for those that signed up but weren't able to attend, if you have friends who signed up, just so they don't worry, we will have it out in a week. And the Florida School Counselor Association is just so thankful to have a partner in Monique Burr. Thank you, Nan, Stacy, and Lynn. And we will see everyone again soon. I'm going to end the webinar. And you can't see me waving my hand at you all, but goodbye and happy Friday Eve.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks.